Yo, I'm Dreadlock Ninja and I'm going to show you the quickest way to get through Expedition 14 Liquidation. I took with me what I call my Expedition Kit, which has everything that you need to cut out any farming that would otherwise be required. I'll make a separate video on that for those interested on getting the best start day one of expeditions. If I was to start this expedition again, I would take with me 3 stacks of Runaway Mould, 4 Sentinel boundary maps, and a good supply of each of the following: Tritium or Tritium hyperclusters, warp cells or warp hypercores, starship launch fuel, condensed carbon, life support gels, ion batteries, and some ammo. I took a stack of each, but you could get away with less. You also want to take a personal refiner to refine the Runaway Mould whilst you're doing everything else, a multi-tool with an upgraded mining beam. The first 2 steps of phase 1 are the standard: locate your ship and warp to a new system. If you are new to the game, a quicker way to travel is punching whilst running and then using your jetpack to boost off of that momentum like this. You also need to jetpack for 1000 units as one of the steps, so it's good practice to be getting it in. Once you get to your ship, it's going to need fixing and you're going to need to craft some other bits as well. There really isn't much to farm on this one, so I suggest doing it all before you get to your ship. Altogether, you need to farm 300 ferrite dust, 430 carbon, 120 oxygen, and 800 copper. If you get the copper last whilst you're farming it with the train manipulator, you can start refining the other bits that you need. To build a refiner, you need to craft 1 metal plate, but craft an extra one to use later on. Then refine 50 pure ferrite, 90 condensed carbon, and 400 chromatic metal. Once all that's refined, you can craft 1 hermetic seal, 5 carbon nanotubes, 5 microprocessors, 3 antimatter, 3 antimatter housing, and then craft them into 3 warp cells. When you get to your ship, you'll be swarmed by biological horrors and you will need to kill 16 of these. You'll come across loads throughout the expedition, so don't worry if the milestone doesn't pop here. If you come across any sentinels on this planet, kill them and fight through the waves until you defeat the walker. You need to kill 32 sentinels and 4 walkers for steps later on, so it's a good idea to start getting them as soon as possible. If you bought some sentinel boundary maps with you, this step will be considerably quicker. Every time you jump to a new system, use one of these to locate the tower, as there's always going to be sentinels to fight there. Just remember, don't shut it down, fight the sentinels till you kill the walker. Some other steps you want to keep in mind as you play here are: eliminate 16 hazardous plants, traverse 14,000 units through a storm, hit 4 targets with 1 grenade. This one can be done with the alternate fire and the multi-tool that you start with. It's best to do this with biological horrors as they spawn in. Kill 32 corrupt sentinels. The smaller crawlers didn't seem to count for me, only the big ones and the flying corrupted sentinels contributed to the counter. And 6,000 nanites. If you didn't bring any Runaway Mould with you, you need to scan and upload everything that you come across and clear 6 waypoints of biological horrors. Now we've covered all of that, carry out the repairs to your launch thrusters and pulse engine, then launch into space, claim the rewards for guns blazing, dust off an exterminator. This is going to teach you the plans to install the Hyperdrive module, get it installed and fueled, open up your galaxy map and jump to the mark system. Whilst you pulse drive to the marker, you can claim the reward for jumping and install the scatter blaster upgrade. From now on, I'm going to assume that you are collecting your rewards and installing upgrades as we go, and I will only mention the ones critical for future steps from now on. When you land, you'll need to use the target sweep on your visor to get to the drop zone. Biological horrors will swarm you as you get there, but if you've already killed enough of them, you can just run inside and interact with the terminal, and that will give you the location of Infestation Alpha. When you get to the Infestation, a broodmother will spawn. These aren't too hard to fight. The yellow bar is a countdown timer for when she'll spawn some smaller reinforcements. You want to prioritize the smaller ones and then go back to shooting the broodmother in between clearing them out. As with all combat in No Man's Sky, you want to keep moving around. The broodmother does have a ranged attack where she spits acid at you, so be careful of that. Once she's dead, you can head inside and interact with the terminal to complete this step of the milestone. Outside of the building are a load of whispering eggs. You need to harvest 14 of these before you leave the site. When I walked a second time, I spawned into a freighter fight. I'm not sure if this is part of the expedition or if it carried over from the counter of my main save. Either way, there's no milestone for fighting one of these, so if you come across it, if you don't want to fight it, you can just fly into the landing bay of the freighter that you're trying to defend and it will despawn the whole thing. Then summon the space anomaly so you can collect the items that you uploaded, install all of your tech and start refining the Runaway Mould. Select the Drop Zone 2 milestone and start making your way to the marked galaxy. This will take a few jumps. On your way there, remember to either use a Sentinel boundary map if you bought them to quickly locate and fight the Sentinels in each system until you defeat the Walker. If you didn't have any maps, look out for planets which have aggressive Sentinel activity. On them you can harvest Gravitino balls which will spawn in some Sentinels. You will also find Sentinels around resource depots which will show up with your visor if you're struggling to find them. You also want to keep an eye out for a planet that has a vile brood detected. Most of them in this area do. Then use your scanner to find a juicy grub. Most of the ones I've come across so far have been above the ground, but I did have to dig for this particular one. Then from your inventory you can crush it with the interact key, and this is going to spawn in another broodmother to fight. Whilst I was fighting her, the shoot 1800 rounds milestone popped, and this one's just going to happen naturally as you progress. Once that's done, carry on to the second drop zone and exterminate the nest. Remember to keep topping up your personal refiner with Runaway Mould. Be on the lookout for hazardous plants and destroy 16 of them, and if there are any storms you want to keep traversing in them until you've reached 14,000 units. Just run circles around your ships if needs be. The milestone for clearing the swarm around 6 waypoints popped just after walking into a minor settlement for me, and it should be one that just auto completes as you progress through the expedition. By this point I had refined enough Runaway Mould to copy my starship, meaning I could make it to the next drop zone in one jump. If you can't jump that far, remember to keep an eye out for dissonant planets. You can see if a system will have one from the galaxy map. If you can make the jumps in one, then you can leave this step till later if you want. On the way to drop zone 3 is a frostbound moon. I've renamed aggressive creature. Have a guess what milestone can be completed there. Whilst you're on the planet with Drop Zone 3, look for alluring specimens through your visor. When you try to harvest them, you're going to get attacked by a deep sea monstrosity. It won't always be the first one like it was in this video, so just harvest them all until you're attacked. And then claim the reward for reaching Drop Zone 3, which gives you a Minotaur combat deployment set, and you're going to need to get 50 kills with it for a milestone in Phase 5. I'll be honest, I died here. I landed too close to the nest, and the broodmother spawned in and killed me whilst I was trying to sort out my Minotaur, so I recommend landing a few hundred units away and building it next to your ship. If you do this at each site you get to, you can just deconstruct it after ready for the next one, and you'll easily get your 50 kills before you reach the last nest. By the time you've cleared out the third nest, you should have refined enough nanites to get a copy of your multi-tool. If you didn't have a suitable one to bring with you, you'll need to get some upgrades for your mining beam from on board the space stations, as one of the milestones is to harvest 900 resources in one burst. For the best chances, you'll want to get your multi-tool close to overheating for maximum resources, and remember to analyze whatever you're farming to get the secondary resource if you're struggling with this one. I got it from harvesting the trees on the planet with Drop Zone 4. This system also has a dissonant planet if you haven't killed 32 corrupted Sentinels yet. Once you've cleared the fourth nest, you're on to the final phase. If you've been using your Minotaur since you got it, making sure your personal refiner has been churning out nanites, you've destroyed a walker in 4 of the systems you've been to, you can hand in the first 3 milestones for Phase 5 straight away. If you haven't claimed your nutrient processor for handing in the provocator milestone from Phase 3, do so now, and then put some rancid flesh obtained from killing biological horrors into it to make purged ribs. Then make your way to the last drop zone, clear the nest, and you'll be given one more location to visit. Once you've interacted with the terminal, you should have completed all of the mandatory milestones. There is an optional milestone for each phase which we'll be earning together as a community, and that is to assist the Liquidator vanguards in purging the universe of biological horrors, sentinels, and spawlings of the vile brood. At the time of recording this audio, the milestone for Phase 1 is complete, and we're currently halfway through Phase 2. These optional milestones are how we earn the upgrades for the Minotaur, so get out there and do your part. The universe is counting on you. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on my future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.